So when you picture ancient Rome, your mind probably jumps to the big monumental stuff.
Oh, yeah, the Colosseum, the triumphant arches, the legions.
Exactly. But the real story of Roman success, the thing that made their massive cities even possible, was something much more hidden, something we totally take for granted today.
Right. We're talking about the engineering that kept millions of people alive and healthy
Yeah.
without a constant, reliable water supply and a way to get rid of waste.
Those cities just wouldn't have survived.
Not a chance.
And that's what we're going to unpack, how they managed water, how they socialized in their famous baths, and maybe most importantly, how they dealt with all the, well, the waste.
It's an incredible story.
Hmm.
And it all starts with their most famous engineering feat,
Yeah.
the aqueducts. These were literally the veins of the empire.
I think most people, when they hear aqueduct, they just picture those huge, beautiful stone arches.
And those are amazing, but they're a tiny fraction of the whole system.
Really?
Absolutely. The vast majority of an aqueduct was actually built underground.
Why underground?
Well, for a few key reasons. It kept the water clean, it protected it from enemies who might want to poison or cut off the supply, and it kept it safe from the weather.
So the arches were just for emergencies, basically.
Sort of. They only built those iconic arches when they absolutely had to cross a deep valley and keep the water flowing at the right height.
And the whole system worked using just one simple force.
Just gravity, nothing else. No pumps, no engines, just a very, very precise slope.
That sounds incredibly difficult. I mean, getting a consistent flow over, what, 50 or 60 miles?
That's where the genius comes in. The precision had to be unbelievable, too steep, and the water would flow too fast and erode the stone.
And too slow, and it would just get stagnant and disgusting.
Exactly. So they aimed for a tiny, tiny drop.
How tiny are we talking?
A typical Roman aqueduct might only drop a few inches, say 3 to 5 inches, for every 100 yards of length.
Wait, 100 yards? Like a football field.
Yep. Imagine trying to build that for miles on end without any modern equipment. That's the difference between a thriving city and a dead one.
That is just stunning. So you have all this water, a massive amount, arriving at the city walls. What did they do with it all?
It didn't just spill into the streets. It all flowed into a central building called the Castellum Divisorium.
Okay, what's that?
Think of it like a main sorting hub for the city's water supply. It's where they decided who got water and in what order.
So they had a priority system.
A very strict one. Priority number one was always the public. The first and largest pipes fed the public fountains.
Which were everywhere, right? On street corners, so ordinary people never had to walk far to get their daily water.
Exactly. As a foundational public service, everyone got fresh water.
Okay, so what was priority two?
The huge public bath complexes. They used an enormous amount of water.
And only after the fountains and the baths were supplied.
Did the third and smallest pipes go to private users? And you had to pay a special tax for it.
The luxury tax.
Right. Having a private fountain in your villa was the ultimate status symbol.
And the pipes they used for this is where we get a modern word, isn't it?
It is. Most of the smaller city pipes were made from lead. The Latin word for lead is plumbum.
Which gives us our word plumbing.
That's the one. And the whole system was designed around one key rule. It had to run constantly.
24/7. They never shut it off. That sounds so wasteful.
It seems that way, but that constant flow was crucial. First, it kept the water fresh. But more importantly, all the overflow from the fountains and baths was channeled directly into the sewers.
Ah, so that's what flushed the system.
Precisely. Without that constant flow of clean water, the sewer system just wouldn't work.
That's clever. The water that gives life during the day cleans the city at night. And I guess nowhere used more water than those public baths.
Not even close. And they were so much more than just a place to get clean. They were the absolute center of Roman social life.
Like a community center.
And a gym and a business lounge all rolled into one. You'd go there to meet friends, hear the news, exercise, everything.
And they were cheap to get into, right?
Right. Incredibly cheap. The admission was kept very low, so even the poorest citizens could go regularly. It was a very democratic space in that sense.
Men and women used them. Did they just all bathe together?
Usually not. They either had separate sections or, more commonly, bathed at different times a day. Women in the morning, men in the afternoon.
And it wasn't just about bathing. There were other activities.
Oh, yeah. Most baths had big open courtyards called the palaestra. That's where you'd go to work out wrestling, boxing, ball games.
So it was a whole health and wellness center.
Absolutely. Many even had libraries for reading or listening to poetry. The goal was to keep citizens active and healthy.
And a visit to the baths wasn't just a quick dip. It was a whole ritual, a sequence of different
A
temperatures.
very specific order. You'd start in the apoditerium.
The changing room.
Exactly. You'd leave your clothes in little niches in the wall. Wealthy Romans would bring the slave just to stand there and guard their stuff.
From there, you'd move to the
The
tepidarium.
warm room. It was just lukewarm, designed to let your body adjust to the heat slowly.
Before you hit the main event.
Which was the caldarium. This was the hot, steamy room. The goal was to sweat, to open up your pores and loosen all the dirt.
Some of the fancier baths had an even hotter room, right?
They did, a laconicum. It was basically a super hot, dry sauna designed for intense sweating.
So after all that heat, you'd cool down a bit.
Right, you'd go back through the tepidarium again, and then you'd finish with the final step,
The cold plunge.
the frigidarium, a big pool of cold water. The shock was believed to close the pores and refresh the body. It was the perfect end to the experience.
Keeping all those rooms hot, especially the coldarium, must have required some serious technology.
It did, and the Romans invented something brilliant for it. The hypocaust system.
Ancient central heating.
Essentially, yes, they raised the entire floor of the hot rooms on hundreds of little brick pillars.
Creating a big empty space underneath.
Exactly. And workers outside the building would keep huge wood furnaces burning day and night. The hot air and smoke from those furnaces was piped into that space under the floor.
So you were literally walking on top of a giant heater.
You were. The floors got so hot that bathers had to wear special wooden sandals to keep from burning their feet. They even put hollow clay tubes in the walls to let the heat rise and warm the whole room.
That sounds incredibly labor-intensive.
It was. Enslaved workers had to tend those fires constantly. It shows how important these baths were to Roman life.
Okay, so you've gone through the whole temperature ritual. Now it's time to actually wash. But they didn't have soap.
No soap at all. Instead, they used olive oil.
Olive oil. How does that clean you?
Well, you'd cover your body in oil, and at the heat of the caldarium, the oil would mix with your sweat and all the dirt and dead skin.
And then what?
And then you'd have a slave or a friend take a special tool called a strigil.
What's a strigil?
It's a curved metal scraper. They would use it to scrape the mixture of oil and grime off your body, leaving your skin clean and moisturized.
Wow. A very different way of doing things. Okay, so from the peak of cleanliness at the baths, let's talk about where all that water and waste ended up.
The sewers. And this starts with another unique Roman space. The public toilets.
Which were also very social, I've heard.
Very. Picture a large room with long stone benches that has holes cut into them.
And the most surprising part for us.
No stallses.
Yeah.
No privacy walls at all. Just sit down right next to your neighbor and carry on a conversation.
That is a completely different idea of personal space.
It really is.
Yeah.
And below those benches, a constant stream of water from the aqueduct overflow was running, carrying everything away into the main sewers.
And what did they use instead of toilet paper?
They used something called a tersorium.
Okay.
It was a sea sponge on the end of a wooden stick. They'd keep it in a bucket of salt water or vinegar, and it was communal.
Right. A reusable solution. So all of this waste flowed into the city's main sewer system.
The most famous one being the Cloaca Maxima in Rome, the Great Sewer. It was originally built just to drain a swamp, but it grew into this massive, stone-arched tunnel system,
Big enough to walk through in some places.
big enough to drive a cart through. It carried all the city's waste and rainwater runoff directly into the Tiber River, and keeping it clean was a major government job.
They did all this to prevent flooding and get rid of bad smells.
Exactly. And that focus on bad smells is the biggest irony of Roman public health.
Because they had no idea about germs or bacteria.
None whatsoever. They believed disease was caused by miasma, literally bad air. They thought if something smelled bad, it was making you sick.
So by trying to get rid of the smell,
By constantly flushing their city with fresh water, they accidentally got rid of the breeding grounds for the actual germs that cause disease. They were right for entirely the wrong reasons.
which made them so much healthier than other ancient civilizations. But it wasn't a perfect system.
Definitely not. Those lead pipes, the plumbum we now know, probably caused long-term health problems from lead poisoning, especially for the rich who had water piped directly to their homes.
And the bath water itself could spread infections.
Right. But despite those flaws, their commitment to providing clean water and removing waste for everyone was a monumental achievement. It set a standard for city life that wasn't seen again for 1,000 years.
And the engineering was so good that parts of those ancient sewers are actually still in use today.
They are. But the biggest legacy is the idea itself, that the government is responsible for providing public utilities like clean water and sanitation. That model comes directly from Rome.
So, in the end, Roman engineering wasn't just about building impressive structures. It was about creating a system for public health and hygiene that literally defined their civilization.
Their control over water, from a mountain spring all the way to a river outfall, created a revolutionary standard of urban cleanliness.
And here's a final thought to leave you with. The Romans didn't know about germs, but their belief that public cleanliness was essential led them to build infrastructure that accidentally fought disease, improving quality of life and changing history in the process. Good luck with your studies.